When I think about how I learned how to read, at first I thought this was gonna be like super easy, but then I realized, wow, I don't really remember my, like younger childhood. I don't remember going to kindergarten or preschool and things like that. I remember like certain things, but I definitely don't remember like how I learned how to read necessarily. So then like for that I kind of sought assistance from my father. I was like, and my mother. I was like, how'd you guys teach me how to read? And then like they kind of got stomped on it too. They were like, well, I know you learned how to read from going to school, and I was like, duh. But then like thinking about back to like kindergarten, preschool, first grade, I remember having like these little like pamphlet type books, and they would be our teacher would give them to us to take home, and they would have like verbs and stuff in there like run, jump, leap, skip, and like eventually after seeing like having these little pictures and these little stories about like dogs and things like that, I kind of began to like see certain words and start associating them with certain things. So and then like story time in class also played like a big role in me learning to read things. But I think one of the biggest factors in like me learning to read was definitely my father and my mother's like job as far as hanging flashcards everywhere. So on the cupboard, they would write the word, cupboard on a flashcard, and I would, eventually after seeing it so many times, I would begin to associate, okay, this object right here is a cupboard, or thinking to the refrigerator, there would be a flashcard that said the refrigerator on there, and being able to associate these different, like, objects with words, and on my bedpost it would say the word bed. So I think having flashcards everywhere, and then sooner or later as a kid you begin to pick up on these kind of things, and like my father would take me around and ask me what this was and ask me what that was, and if I got it right he'd give me ice cream. So I was super motivated by that. And another factor that I think played into it, other than like my teachers and some of the flashcards, things we did at home, was definitely like the Leapfrog gaming system. So it's like an educational Game Boy type deal. So like instead of having like Pokemon or like little Digimon or whatever, there would be like these little educational games that kind of challenged me to with reading games or spelling things correctly, writing things correctly, and then eventually that also helped with like I'm a very visual person, so I began to like visually associate certain words and letters with certain actions and things that I saw in this game, and that helped a lot. There was a TV show called Between the Lions, and it was basically like animated, not an animated, but like little puppet type deal, a family of lions, and like every episode they would read stories on there, and then they like it would the setting would change, and like they would act out the entire story, and it was super cool. And I think that was pretty effective as far as just like learning different words, and then eventually being able to put these words together, and then opening like small picture books and things like that. So like there were a multitude of different components that kind of played into me learning how to read, but definitely I think it was a big influence as far as like it started with my parents with the flashcards, and then it moved into like the like little books they would buy me, and then like reading time. My older brother would read to me, my mom would read to me, my dad would read to me. So eventually, by the time I got to school, it was a lot easier to recognize words, and I think I started off reading pretty well and pretty fast, so that helped a lot. And then going to school and just like kind of strengthening those skills. So I think it has a lot to do with like that Vankowski, or the socio cultural theory. So like you know being surrounded by people who are my community, which is my family, and they taught me how to read. So I think that was pretty cool, and I think that's the basis of how I learned how to read. So there you have it.